Okay, so listen. Over these last couple of weeks, Atlanta has become a hot grease mess. Let's get into it. It's just so much nonsense going on all over the place. Okay, primarily with Shamea, Porsha, and Angela. Okay, let's get into Porsha and Shamea because that's the main tea that we all care about. I always knew that the tea between the mothers was way more juicy than whatever Porsha and Shamea had going on. Okay, and it all came out this past Sunday, didn't it? Okay. So, some things that bother me about this whole beef and some things that just doesn't really make any sense to me. So let's just go all the way through it. First off, I think Porsha and Shamea are both right about some things. I do think that Shamea was trying to trigger Porsha. I think the thing that really set off this argument was Porsha making up with Kelly. Shamea could not take it, seeing that Porsha was able to make up with Kelly, even though Kelly has called her all type of hoes and told her she done slept with everybody in Atlanta. She has called this woman all out her name, but Porsha just lovingly said, girl, I forgive you, we good. I don't want to fight with you no more. Shamea couldn't take it. She even said in her confession, oh, so you can make up with her, but you can't make up with me? But here's my thing, though. Considering everything that has come out, why do you even want to make up? In my unpopular opinion, I don't even think they should be friends. And then the bigger question is, were they ever really friends? So here's the thing. Like I said a moment ago, I think they're both wrong about some things. So Porsha was right that Shamea was trying to trigger her. Okay, Shamea was so bothered that Porsha has not said anything to her, not really addressed her. She wanted some type of reaction out of Porsha. She did, but that doesn't mean that the stuff that Shamea was saying was wrong either. I realized that Porsha is everybody's favorite. She's good at entertaining people, but that doesn't necessarily mean that she's squeaky clean. We do know that Porsha is a liar. We do know that Porsha is all about herself. We do know that Porsha is a little sneaky. So let's walk down the timeline for a second, shall we? Porsha has shown us in some ways that she's not really Shamea's friend, okay? I actually believe Shamea when Shamea said that Porsha didn't really want her on the show because that would take her shine and so forth. I could believe that. And if you recall, Kenya also said the same thing. Kenya last year co-signed and said, yeah, Porsha really didn't want Shamea on the show. Because think about the way Porsha acted when Shamea got on the show. Porsha was fine with Shamea as long as Shamea was just a friend of the show. But the moment she became a full-time housewife on the show, look at what happened. On the very first episode last season, Shamea had a birthday party. Porsha, her best friend, was the last person to attend. And she made this lame excuse about how far she lives and traffic. Girl, you're an adult. That means you can plan out the trip, right? If you really wanted to. She was just getting her makeup done well until the party, while the party was going on. Not only was she late, okay, she also tried to upstage Shamea when Gerald was presenting her with the Rolls Royce. My thing is, you're late. Just fade to the back with everybody else. There was no reason for you to try to come there. That was her moment. So that to me was shady, okay? And then also, if you recall, when Shamea was letting Porsha listen to her music, Porsha's like, oh, that sounds more like Drew. Girl, you need to tell me y'all been friends on this time and you don't know her voice? And we all know Porsha probably was feeling some kind of way because if you recall, Porsha wanted a singer career too, way back when. But now Shamea was getting her moment to have a singing career. Porsha didn't really seem to like that. So Porsha did start acting funny last season towards Shamea. But Shamea's not innocent either because she's claiming that she never talked about Porsha to the other ladies, but that's not true because you did go to the other ladies rehashing things that happened years ago. And that's what's weird to me. The thing that I don't understand is that the whole basis of their argument is stemming from things that happened years ago that should have been resolved. And in the real world, many of us would have stopped being friends a long time ago. As if we gonna be real, when Shamea was getting married, the way Porsha acted as her best friend, her alleged best friend anyway, I would have stopped being friends then. It was clear that the reason that Porsha didn't show up to Shamea's wedding was because she was jealous. She was jealous of the fact that Shamea was about to marry somebody wealthy. And we all know that's what Porsha wants, okay? If we're going to be real, Shamea wants the fame that Porsha has, and Porsha wants Shamea's soft life. Porsha wants to be the one married to a wealthy man so she can have a soft life. Because if we're going to be real, that's the whole reason why she married Simon, so she can keep up with Shamea. Because she needed to have that lifestyle as well. So I guess the problem that I have with Shamea, though, Shamea is a little bit sneaky. And if you think about it, it kind of follows the pattern of what her mom did. Because think about it. She's claiming that Miss Diane tried to sleep with her father years before her mother bought the daycare. It seems to me that Shamea's mom waited a while to get her lick back. I'm wondering if Shamea is doing the same thing. Because think about it. It seems like she's still been upset with Porsha all these years about her wedding, when that really should have been resolved. There were plenty of times, even when she was a friend of the show, where she could have brought it up to Porsha, but she didn't. It really, she should have brought it up on her own without even being on the show. But She waited until she became a full-time wife to bring up all this stuff that supposedly bothered her from years ago. Why are you just not bringing it up? And then let's talk about the whole mom of it all. Because I don't know about y'all, but I'm team mama, okay? And I realized that Shamea and Porsha shouldn't be held responsible for whatever their parents did. But there's some lines you just don't cross. And if these moms really did some of the things that they're saying they're doing, I wouldn't have wanted anything to do with any of them. Like in Shamea's case, you're saying that Miss Diane allegedly tried to sleep with your father, but yet you were still okay being around Porsha? Because guess what? Being Porsha's best friend all these years means that at some point you had to cross paths with Miss Diane every so often, right? So I'm not sure why you would have wanted to be around her if she tried to do that to your mom. And even with Porsha, claiming that she didn't like how her mom bought the daycare from behind her mother's back. But you were around her mother at some point, right? So I don't even understand how they was able to maintain a relationship with all that drama going on between their moms. It's one thing for your moms to just have an argument and fall out, but this some pretty deep stuff. And let's get into the allegations. Because Shamea comes out and says that she was like, oh, you always want to talk about what your mom says. And we got to be fair, though. Porsha is the one who brought the moms into it. Porsha was the one who went on social media and talked about the egregious thing that Shamea's mother did to her. And on the reunion last year, she is the one who brought up the fact that Shamea's mother brought the daycare. Porsha is the one who started with the whole moms thing. But notice the reactions, though. To me, the reactions are telling, right? And I'm not trying to disrespect Miss Diane. I don't know these people. Okay, I'm just trying to read between the lines here. I see mighty funny. Porsha didn't just outright deny it. You know what I mean? I'm not saying it's true. If somebody would have said that to me, I would be like, girl, you crazy. To me, it wouldn't have mattered what I'd known or what I thought I knew. I would have outright denied it, because in my mind, there's no way that my mom would have tried to sleep with your daddy. Okay? But Porsha didn't really do that. And even in the course of the argument, she even said, if my mom did that, that's her. That ain't got nothing to do with me. It wouldn't even been no statement about that. Now, let's flip it, though. When Porsha said, okay, when I told my mom about the whole daycare thing, she said that she used to date your dad's brother and your mom slept with him. What's the first thing Shamea said? She said, you better get the F out of here with that. She flat out denied it. And then she tried to catch Porsha in the lie, because she said, okay, so if my mom slept with my uncle, tell me which one was it? Because in her mind, if Miss Diane told Porsha that she used to date Shamea's uncle, she should have told her name, right? So I guess Shamea was saying, okay, bet. If they slept together, who was it then? Tell me who it was. And then Porsha couldn't say nothing. She was like, well, I don't know the name. Why wouldn't you know the name? You mean to tell me you and your mom exchanging tea and she didn't tell you who it was? Of course she knew who it was, allegedly, if it really happened. But that just goes to show you this is another example of Porsha just throwing stuff out there to see what sticks, which is the same thing we know that she tried to do with Kelly, claiming that she slept with a married man. And then also, let's talk about the whole thing that brought it up when Shamea was saying, oh, it just hurts me that you wouldn't want Pilar at our house. Girl, are you cool? Here's my thing. I don't care how long, what kind of relationship we have. If we got beef, family not coming over there. Period. My daughter is not coming over there. So I don't even know why for a second she would think that Porsha would let Pilar go over there. Y'all not friends like that anymore. And once you break a certain level of trust, it's over. Why she thought that was okay. But really, I don't know if she was really that upset about it. I just felt like she used it as a segue to go ahead and just say what she really wanted to say to Porsha. And I'm also wondering if Dennis brought back even more tea, because Shamea was just brewing. It's almost as if there's some other stuff that was said to her that she didn't fully say, because when she was walking out with Kelly, she was like, she always talking about me and I ain't said nothing about her. And I'm like, okay, who told you something? Feels like there was something else there, because she was way too mad about all this stuff. Because it's not like this just happened yesterday. Here's my unpopular opinion. I don't think they need to be friends anymore. Okay? I really don't. They just need to leave things where they are and call it a day. And I think Shamea just got to see things for what they are. Y'all not friends, and y'all probably never were friends. But if we being real, there's a part of me that feels like she had her own motives for staying in this relationship with Porsha. Because if you watch Carlos King's interview, she said that they didn't become actual best friends until Porsha's divorce. Where was Porsha during that time? Porsha was on Housewives. We all know Shamea wants to be in entertainment. Yes, she's had some roles, but she's never really made it that big. You know what I mean? So that was her way of having close proximity to being on television. So is it possible that maybe Shamea been putting over her all this time until she finally was able to really get in there and get what she wanted, which is to be on TV? Because even in the interview, she didn't speak to Porsha about being on the show. She just told her, she said, hey, they asked me about doing some filming or whatever on the show. Is that cool? But she had already agreed to it at that point. So Porsha was like, okay, it wasn't really much to talk about. So is it possible that maybe Shamea also played her part? I'm not saying she didn't care about Porsha, because she's clearly devastated about this relationship, because she's acting like it's the end all be all. But let's not play like she probably didn't realize she could benefit as well. Maybe that's why she kept around even in spite of all this stuff that happened. And then here's my other thing with Porsha. We need to go back to last week with Angela, okay? Because Porsha and Phaedra sat there and heard exactly what that woman said and saw that Angela was lying about all that stuff she was saying about Shamea sleeping with George. They heard that, okay? And what did they do when they had dinner that night? When Angela came out and was still doubling down on all these lies, neither one of them said anything. And I just feel like this. I appreciate the fact that Shamea and Porsha are not speaking anymore, but I feel like there's lines that should be drawn, right? It's one thing to have a little petty lie, but letting somebody lie about somebody else's marriage isn't cool. And I do feel like, especially in light of the lies that they've already been caught in, let's not forget about the whole Candy scandal, right? You already been caught in a lie once, right? So why would you want to be complicit in another lie about somebody else's marriage? The way I see it, not saying anything is just as bad as going around telling it, because you could have stopped it and aired the truth down, just been the bigger person. That would have been the better thing for her to do. So imagine how Shamea feels watching, knowing that Porsha knows that Angela was lying and didn't say anything about it. She just sat there quietly. And we got to think about a character. It doesn't say much about your character if you allow somebody to continue these type of lies. Angela is unhinged, and it makes me question everything about her. I always felt like she was the one who set up that whole thing with Phaedra last year, because none of it made sense and her receipts did not receipt. And then my other thing is how we go from Aunt Shamea sleeping with the whole basketball team and football team and everybody in Atlanta to that guy George. It just doesn't make sense. Angela just pulling anything out of thin air. It lowered her credibility at that point. It doesn't speak well for Porsha and Phaedra either, because they went along with the shenanigans. So my thing is, if you're okay with that, what else are you okay with? Well, we've already seen with how low they would go. So yeah, Porsha ain't squeaky clean either. The fact that Porsha was okay with sitting there letting Angela lie about her marriage makes me believe Shamea when she told Cynthia that Porsha had sent her these text messages saying stuff about her marriage. Because like I said, that's the source of Porsha's jealousy where Shamea is concerned anyway. So the fact that she's willing to let all this blow up so Shamea's marriage will blow up tells me it's true. So I also want to touch on Pinky for a second, right? Because during the latest episode, Pinky was upset because she was crying about every time you turn around, she has to put out money for this and that. And she just felt like she had a lot weighing on her where her business was concerned. And then Angela said in her confession, she just feels like Pinky ties her identity to her business, and that, girl, it's just money, crying over money. But I don't think it's right to really dismiss Pinky's feelings. I'm just going to go ahead and say this, okay? Yes, I do think that she strongly ties her business to her identity, but that's how some people are. Some people see success as validation. And not only that, we got to give Pinky some credit. It took a lot of time, sacrifice, and hard work for her to build up this business, especially when it got to the $100 million point, okay? That takes up a lot of time. And I feel like it's easy to dismiss Pinky's feelings and say, oh, it's just money. It's not that simple. This is something that she has built from the ground up. Her business is something that she has poured herself into. And I don't think Angela can relate and understand that, because she's never really built something from the ground up like that. So it's easy to say, oh, it's just money. It doesn't feel that way to Pinky. That's her life. That's her baby to a degree. So I don't think it was right for Angela to dismiss Pinky's feelings like that. Pinky has a right to feel down when things don't work out in her business. She's human, and it matters. And not only that, it's a lot. People don't realize how much stress you go under building a business. So it's not easy, and it's definitely not for the weak. So I didn't like that Angela was so quick to just dismiss her feelings about that. And can we talk about Drew line from last week? Okay, if you recall, they were all having a conversation about whether or not they've been with a woman, and then here comes Drew. Well, I did it to please my husband. I've never been with a woman on our own. Now, Drew, are we really going to sit here and act like we forgot about Ty? Especially when Ralph went online and posted text messages proving that you had a full-on relationship with that woman? We really going to keep lying about this girl? Okay, Drew just be lying. So there's a couple of things I want to talk about, especially relating to Shamea and the rest of the group, because Pinky and Kate and Shay were talking. They were talking about how Shamea's fighting with everybody, and then Cynthia even talked about how is the reason why Shamea is some of the stuff because of some of the stuff that Shamea has done. And even in the episode prior to that, Cynthia was telling Shamea that she has the power to bring the group together. And I think she's way off base with that. I think she needs to remember that her, Porsha, and Phaedra are the OGs of the group. So if anything, the OGs are the one who are supposed to bring the group together. It's not Shamea's job. And I certainly don't see Pinky following along with Shamea. Shamea don't control them like that. Yes, Kelly does defend Shamea, but she does her own thing. I do agree with Kelly when she was saying that Cynthia just doesn't recognize what it's like to be a real friend, because let's face it, she always used to flip-flop when it came to Nene and Kenya, right? Like, she never just stood on business. So maybe that is unfamiliar territory to Cynthia. She just doesn't know what that looks like. But if we're going to be real, and I feel like because Porsha's the leader of the show, nobody holds Porsha accountable to anything, and nobody wants to put her in the hot seat except for when Kelly was coming for her. But if we're going to be real, I think the real source of the strife in the group is really Porsha versus Shamea. That's what I really think it is. Because I feel like some of them are feeling like they got a side between Porsha and Shamea. And there's people who feel like they got to be on Porsha's side because she's the leader of the show. And they got to make sure they stay on her side or whatever. Look how Drew flipped around, right? Porsha and Drew was going at it all last season. Now all of a sudden this season, Drew is up Porsha's butt, which is ironic considering how she calls Shamea a lapdog. And I feel like Drew is doing the same thing. Like, she just ready to just jump in on Shamea. But sometimes Shamea don't even say anything. I'm not saying Shamea is innocent. Shamea has done her stuff too, because like when they were in a trip to Dallas, Shamea was egging Drew on at the table. She was wrong for that. I think saying that Shamea is the one to bring everybody together is a reach, though. It really is up to Porsha as the leader of the show to act like a true anchor of the show, and I don't think she does. Porsha just worries about Porsha. She entertains, but the real anchor in some regards really is Cynthia. Cynthia is the only one that kind of reaches across the aisle to everybody, see what's going on with them, and try to bridge people together. But Porsha doesn't really go out of her way to do that. So I thought Cynthia was reaching on that one. Is Shamea the reason why she's in a lot of these beefs? Partially. Even though, truth be told, some of these beefs she's in is because she was defending Porsha when they were besties, remember? Because that's the whole reason why her and Angela are beefing, because she laughed, and I guess Shamea said some other stuff. But I still feel like if Angela can forgive Porsha, she should be done with the beef with Shamea. It's dead at this point. Even with Drew, Porsha was doing the same thing, right? She was ragging you all that season about Dennis. It's just amazing to me how folks are just choosing to be selective with some of this stuff. But Shamea does have to take accountability. She makes smart remarks sometimes. Sometimes she does start stuff or whatever, but you can't always cry victim, right? Sometimes we got to stand up. And then here's my other thing. I don't feel like she should have left the dinner, right? If you're going to sit there and start a full-blown argument or whatever, I would have stood my ground. First of all, I'm not leaving food, okay? I'm not leaving food for nobody. I don't care how mad you are. I'm not about to go leave and be hungry just because I'm mad with you. No, I'm going to sit there and eat. You just got to look at me, period. So my thing is, I would have sat there and stood on business, period. Whatever happened the rest of the night happened. Period. So she just got to own her villain era. You got to get to the point where you're comfortable letting people have it, saying what you got to say, and stop keeping everything bottling. But you know what, real talk though? I think it was time for them to have that confrontation, because all they've been doing is avoiding each other this whole time. They was avoiding each other, tiptoeing. Eventually it was going to brew over. Okay? Porsha, mind you, Porsha doesn't care, because Porsha has clearly moved on. I think it's fine that she finally got it off her chest. But if I'm Shamea, I will stop talking about her at this point. And I'm getting tired of her saying how much she loved Porsha and every convention. I love her, but this and that. Girl, get over it. Get over it. Once people show you who they are, believe them. Period. You've already said that she doesn't have your best interest at heart. Clearly, Porsha feels the same way about you, even though there's part of Porsha that just doesn't take accountability for anything she does wrong. But sometimes we just got to know when to end it. Okay? So this has been an interesting, rocky last 2 weeks. They had some specks of fun throughout this trip in Scotland. Seems like a nice place for the most part, but yeah. It's hard for these women to find peace. I don't know what that word means. Because I know we gotta have drama, but good Lord. Many of us wanted to know what was going on with the mamas. I surely wasn't expecting Young and the Restless, but we got it. So, I guess we gotta stay tuned to see what else comes out. I don't know about y'all, but I feel like there could be some more stuff that happened between them that we just don't know about. That's just yet to come out. So, once they get the argument real good, especially at the reunion, I think it's going to be some stuff that comes out. And definitely, speaking of the reunion, definitely Shamea and K. Michelle go at it. Because K. Michelle unfollowed her after the reunion. So clearly they got into it because K. Michelle was starting to feel some type of way anyway. Because here's my other thing too. Now I forgot to mention. My other thing is, I wish we can go back to the era of Atlanta where people wasn't scared to say what they had to say to your face. You know what I'm saying? Because we saw in the previous episode, K. Michelle confronted Shamea about some of the things that she said, especially about how she keeps saying how her other friends don't want her to be friends with her or whatever. She confronted her, and then at that moment, Shamea said, okay, I'm sorry if I made you feel this way. But then apparently you still have some feelings about it, because later on, K. Michelle talks about how Shamea tells Kelly, you're the only person I got. And K. Michelle was standing right there. She's like, girl, really? See, that's what I'm saying. That's that passive-aggressive mess that we're talking about. It's just like, girl, Shamea, if you felt some type of way about K. Michelle, you stand on business and you go ahead and just tell her what you got to say to her face and be done. And then I'm going to say the same thing about K. Michelle and Pinky, though, because they keep having conversations about Shamea, and Shamea's supposed to be their friend. It's not in a bad way, but it's clear that they feel some type of way about her and about her behavior and the fact that she's had so much conflict. Here's my thing. If you really feel that way about Shamea, why can't the two of them just take her aside and just say, hey girl, are you cool? Are you in a lot of conflict with people? Let's get to the bottom of it, yada, yada, yada. Don't sit there and keep having these side conversations about her. Just say what you got to say to her face and be done. Period. I need us to get back to that era. Okay, that's when things used to shake a little bit. Okay? Because my thing is, we ain't got time to be sitting around talking about each other behind their back. Say what you got to say. And the same thing with Angela. Angela a little two-faced too, because she constantly always talking trash in them confessionals. Not granted, they all talk trash in the confessionals. You got all this mouth though. Just go and say what you got to say. That's it. Say what you got to say. So y'all, we gonna see whatever this drama leads us to. Okay? So it seems like next week we're gonna have some more messy stuff coming about. They're supposed to be finally celebrating Phaedra's birthday, and I guess it seems like Shamea comes in and then Porsha decides to leave. So I don't know. But if you're liking this content, don't forget to like and subscribe. Thanks. See you next time.